CCJ's 1044 is brought to you by Chevron Dello Heavy Duty Diesel Engine Oil. Now there's even more reasons to choose Dello.
How fleets can use technology to improve their processes and make their businesses more efficient.
You're watching CCJ's 1044, a weekly webisode that brings you the latest trucking industry news and updates from the editors of CCJ. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you'll never miss an installment of 1044. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Jason Cannon and my co-host is Matt Cole. A new report released this month by Fleetworthy details the findings of a survey of trucking industry professionals from fleet managers to owner-operators. The survey asked respondents about regulatory compliance and various challenges facing the industry.
The survey showed that many fleets and operators struggle with managing paperwork, which has a trickle-down effect on compliance and other areas. Fleetworthy's goal with the survey was to provide more information to fleets about where the biggest challenges are and how those can be addressed.
So the survey has a short history because it was the first one that we've done, but I think it connects to the mission that we've always had, which is partnering with fleet operators and trying to bring as much data, knowledge, and guidance, to bear so that they can run their operations not only efficiently, but also making sure that they're following the regulatory guidelines and that are out there. So it's the first, but of many, and we want to do it in a way that fleets of all sizes can take advantage of another resource to get data and information just to help them run their day-to-day operations.
Nearly 2/3 of survey respondents said they weren't 100% sure that their fleet could pass a DOT audit.
I think there's a few things that cause that concern. One is, if you look at carriers of all sizes, there's kind of this unfair environment, right? If you look at their back offices, a lot of carriers, regardless of side, have manual processes, aging systems, spreadsheets, emails, paper-based information. And in the meanwhile, when you look at the truck and the technology that's being injected into the truck and all the data that's coming out of the truck, it's hard for a carrier to keep up with everything that's coming out that could negatively or positively impact how they do in an audit. So, I think that's part of it. They have a lot of disparate systems that they're trying to keep track of. So, how can you comfortably say, if the auditors came in, we pass, when you don't really have one place to go to check all the different KPIs and things that are going to lead to them passing an audit. Some of the things that we're trying to do with our technology and services is to change that as much as we can for our customers.
Streamlining all of the data a fleet brings in through various sources can help reduce the anxiety around DOT audits. Mike explains how after a word from 1044 sponsor, Chevron Lubricants.
We serve customers from Birmingham, Alabama to the Gulf Coast, so our people and our trucks are booked solid all day. There is no slack in our schedules. These trucks can't break down. I choose an engine oil that takes care of the number one issue with our engines, emissions, so we don't have to worry about DPF clogging. I choose the engine oil that keeps our trucks hauling. I choose Dello 600 ADF.
We argue that when you look at all the different levers that you have to be monitoring from a compliance perspective, if you can create a solution or leverage a solution that becomes, the command center for all that data, a single pane of glass that you go to one place to check how you're doing, not only in driver compliance, but asset compliance. That's a first step, right? We know that most of these carriers have to focus on top line revenue. How do you mix that with, having the bench strength and the people to really help build that moat around your carrier, your authority from a compliance perspective. So we talk about a three-legged stool. It's like, and if you can find a vendor that has bench strength of subject matter experts that can become an extension of your team, it's another great step in regards to making sure you're compliant. And then the third thing is, and this is a hard one, is understanding all this data that is coming out of the cab, coming from all these different systems. You need to understand the data and make sure you understand how that data positively or negatively affects your profile from a compliance perspective. So it's all those things. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's many vendors that are out there trying to lead this mission we have, which is make the road safer. But we think that holistic view of how you get through the day-to-day, struggles of compliance and regulatory adherence are those three things.
Nuclear verdicts are a major concern among trucking companies, with 90% of Fleetworthy respondents expressing at least some concern. Mike says good record keeping can help fleets in the event of litigation of an accident.
The interesting thing about nuclear verdicts, and I know there's guidelines of what is considered a nuclear verdict, but if I'm an owner operator with 2 trucks and I'm just starting, this mission of building a business, a nuclear verdict for that small owner operator is a lot smaller than a nuclear verdict for, the big guys, right? So when we talk about nuclear verdicts, it's not just the definition of what's the dollar amount. It's what will happen. What is the results if something bad happens and it puts you out of business. So part of it is, it's kind of this, it cuts like a sword. Once you start being really serious about safety and running a safe business, the other problem is if you're not paying attention to problems, like if you don't have alerts, notifications, things that make you look into problems, the longer those problems sit there, the longer you don't fix them. When something bad happens, now you have this breadcrumb of proof that you don't care about safety, right? So it's not just enough to know the regulations. It's not just enough, to be serious about it and staff, but it also has to be, you've got to be proactive, and you've got to make sure when you see a problem, you show that you are serious about fixing it, so that when an accident occurs, it's just that, it's an accident, it's not negligence, right? So from a technology perspective, you need to make sure you have all of the, the functionality to let the leaders from a safety perspective know, hey, you have a problem with a driver, you have a problem with an asset, clock's ticking. What are you going to do to fix it, mitigate it? And then what are you going to do to make sure it never happens again, right? And if you can show that, your risk of nuclear verdicts or losing, in court gets drastically improved, because not only are you following all the rules and regs, but you can show that you're proactively making sure that if the problem happens, you fix it.
More than 90% of fleets responding to Fleetworthy's survey indicated challenges with managing tolls, from the complexity of managing multiple transponders to unpredictable costs and more.
The story I tell people when it comes to tolls, so that BestPass acquired Fleetworthy, we combined with DriveWise, 3 really strong brands with the same mission. And tolling, most people from their personal lives have some sort of, understanding of managing tolls. And I tell people, if you're a family of 3 kids and you have 2 cars, managing tolls and funding accounts is pretty easy. But imagine if you had 15 children going to 15 different colleges, driving 15 different vehicles, being responsible to make sure that tolls funded. If a transponder is lost, it's replaced. It becomes this very large puzzle that you have to fix. And, the legacy BestPass offering, I feel is the best in the market. And that's what we're doing. Carriers of all sizes are realizing if we don't keep track of the behavior of our drivers, what's going on with our toll programs, it escalates, fines escalate, violations escalate. And before you know it, it's negatively impacting your bottom line. So this is another example of it. But if you can take that information, put it in one place, connect it to driver behavior and monitor it, trends, violation trends, why is it happening? It's just hard to do without a really good partner. If a fleet is only focusing on the cheapest route and not paying attention to the safest route, all of a sudden that cheap route ends up costing you more if it's on bad roads that cause rollovers, low tunnels that trucks can't fit under. And this is the reason the connection of what DriveWise does, what BestPass does, and what Fleetworthy does is such a really good marriage, because we can say, no, what your goal should be the safest, most cost-effective route, right? And understand, the ebbs and flows of that mission, right? To keep your drivers safe.
With all this in mind, Mike says finding a technology partner that fits with your operation is important to fleets to improving their efficiencies.
So I would say, if I segmented the market to small, medium, and large type of carriers, to the small carrier owner operators, I would say that there's technology and vendors out there that'll allow them to run their business like the biggest of the big carriers, and that they shouldn't be hesitant to really research these things and find a partner that can help them as they grow. And then for those medium and large, type carriers who are having to focus more on top line revenue and things, I say be open to a partner that really understands the industry, that are bringing technologies to you that are, very nimble, agnostic in nature to consume all this data, layer on notifications and alertings and things so that the experience that they're rolling out to the driver improves every day without really negatively impacting top line. We feel like there's a need across the entire industry, and, the goal is to be open-minded to, how do you attack these day-to-day issues when it comes to running a safe organization.
That's it for this week's 1044. You can read more on ccjdigital.com. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter and stay up to date on the latest in trucking industry news and trends. If you have any questions or feedback, please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you can catch us again next week.